Ambassador Krell had waited 200 years for this moment, and he was going to savor every single second of it. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he announced, his reptilian snout quivering with barely contained glee, "I move that we officially declare the human species extinct and claim their territories under Salvage Protocol 7-4-. Everyone gets free stuff." The council chamber erupted in what could generously be called applause, but sounded more like a dozen species simultaneously having medical emergencies. Krell basked in it. Finally, the chaos species was gone. "About time," wheezed council member Thorpe, a gaseous being whose translator always made him sound like a chain smoker. 200 years of silence. No broadcasts, no wars, no inexplicable decisions to strap rockets to things that should never have rockets strapped to them. "Indeed," Krell continued, pulling up a holographic display of Earth's solar system. "As you can see, all monitoring stations report zero activity. Earth is dark. Mars is dark. That ridiculous orbital casino they built around Jupiter, also dark. The humans are clearly, definitively, and most importantly, legally dead." Ambassador Vorn, a jellyfish-like creature floating in his suspension tank, made a sound like bubbles popping in soda. His translator rendered it as laughter. "Oh no. How tragic. The species that once declared war on emus and lost is gone forever. Whatever shall we do without their valuable contributions to galactic society like, let me check my notes, reality television and deep-fried butter?" Krell shot him a look that would have been withering if Vorn had anything to wither. The two had been rivals since the Great Council Bake-Off incident of 23A7, which nobody talked about anymore because it had been declared a war crime. Mock if you must, Vorn, but the humans were dangerous. Unpredictable. They once tried to teach quantum physics to a bear, Vorn. And did the bear learn? That's not the point. Vorn's translator emitted what was definitely a snicker. "So what's the plan? Swoop in, claim all their stuff, turn Earth into a theme park?" "Salvage operation," Krell corrected primly. "Perfectly legal under Section 12 of the Abandoned Worlds Act. Captain Zilf has already volunteered to lead the expedition. We'll catalog everything, distribute resources according to Council guidelines, and finally turn that chaotic mess of a solar system into something orderly and sensible." The vote was unanimous. Well, except for Vorn, who abstained while making more bubble noises that his translator refused to interpret. As the council adjourned, Krell allowed himself a moment of pure satisfaction. No more humans. No more surprise interventions in council meetings. No more bizarre fusion cuisines showing up at diplomatic dinners. No more accidentally correct solutions to problems they shouldn't have even understood. Just peace, order, predictability. What could possibly go wrong? Captain Zilf was having the best day of her career, right up until she wasn't. "All right, crew, this is a milk run," she clicked, her mandibles clacking together in what her species considered a smile. "Dead world, silent world, easy salvage. We go in, we catalog, we get paid, we go home. Gormax, please stop shaking." Gormax, her security officer, looked like someone had carved anxiety out of granite and given it googly eyes. "But Captain, what if they're not really dead? What if they're just waiting? Humans are tricky. Humans are dead, Gormax. 200 years dead. The only thing waiting for us down there is vintage human junk and maybe some surprisingly well-preserved fast food." "Pip, status report?" Pip, the ship's engineer, bounced excitedly in his containment suit. He was a blob species called the Gloopers, and everything made him excited. "Sensors confirm zero electromagnetic activity, Captain. No radio, no quantum transmissions, no carrier pigeons, nothing. It's deader than Krell's sense of humor." "That's not saying much," Zilf muttered, bringing up the view screen. Earth floated before them, dark and silent as promised. The moon hung nearby, equally dead. The entire system was a graveyard, exactly as advertised. "Approaching Earth orbit now," Pip chirped. "Prepare for standard salvage protocols and maybe some emotional moments about the loss of a species, even if they were kind of weird about personal space and kept asking if they could touch your appendages." Zilf was about to respond when Gormax made a sound like a rock slide having a panic attack. Captain, Captain, Captain. What is it, Gormax? Did you see a shadow and convince yourself it's a ghost again? The stars, Captain. Look at the stars. Zilf looked. Then she looked again. Then she pulled up her navigation charts, compared them to current readings, and experienced what her species called a comprehensive mental recalibration, which was a polite way of saying her brain briefly stopped working. The stars had moved, not drifted, not shifted, moved, deliberately, impossibly. The surrounding stellar bodies had rearranged themselves into a formation that, when viewed from their current position, spelled out a single word in letters each roughly the size of a small solar system. Denied. That's, Zilf clicked slowly, not normal. Not normal? Gormax's voice hit frequencies that technically counted as a sonic weapon. Captain, the stars don't just move. Stars don't spell words. Stars don't have opinions about salvage operations. Pip bounced even more frantically. Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. Do you know how much energy it would take to move stars? Do you know how precise the calculations would need to be? Do you know how completely and utterly impossible this is according to every law of physics we understand? Apparently the stars didn't get that memo, Zilf said, her voice remarkably steady for someone watching the universe violate its own rules. Open a channel to Ambassador Krell. He's going to want to hear about this. Do we still land? Gormax asked, somehow looking even more nervous than usual. Zilf studied the massive stellar message floating in space, thought about her mortgage on her nice quiet asteroid, and briefly considered a career change to something less stressful, like bomb disposal or marriage counseling. Yeah, she finally clicked. Yeah, we land. But everyone stays on high alert. If the humans can move stars, I really want to know what else they've been up to. As their ship descended toward the dark planet, the word denied seemed to watch them go, each letter burning with the light of impossibly repositioned suns. This was definitely not going to be a milk run. Earth looked dead. That was Zilf's first thought as they touched down in what used to be called Colorado, according to the salvage maps. Dead and dark and completely, utterly abandoned. That assessment lasted approximately 15 seconds. Welcome to Earth, a voice boomed across their comms, startling Gormax so badly he cracked his own shin. We've been expecting you. Well, not you specifically, Zilf, but you know someone was bound to show up eventually once we went silent. Hope you like what we did with the stars. Took us 3 years to move them all into position, but we figured it'd make a solid first impression when the Council finally declared us dead. Zilf's mandibles froze mid-click. Who is this? Oh, right, introductions. Commander Jake Bartowski, currently humanity's official welcome wagon for confused alien salvage crews. You guys can come out, by the way. The air's breathable, the radiation's minimal, and we promise not to do anything weird. Well, weirder than moving stars. That ship has kinda sailed. Against every instinct screaming at her, Zilf lowered the boarding ramp. Gormax whimpered. Pip bounced with what might have been excitement or terror. It was hard to tell with gloopers. Standing outside wearing cargo shorts and a t-shirt that said, I moved your stars and all I got was this lousy t-shirt, was a human. An actual, living, supposedly extinct human, grinning like he'd just won the galaxy's easiest bet. Dude, Jake said, giving them a little wave. You should see your faces. Well, face equivalents. Zilf, your mandibles are literally hanging open. That's amazing. You're not dead, Zilf managed. Nope. Common misconception. We just got really into a project and forgot to update our social media for 2 centuries. Happens to the best of us, am I right? The stars, Gormax whispered. You moved the stars. Oh yeah, that. Jake looked genuinely pleased. Pretty cool, right? So basically, about 200 years ago, humanity had this collective moment of, we've done everything on Earth. What's next? And someone suggested we try to figure out gravity manipulation. And then someone else said that was impossible. And, well, you know humans. Tell us something's impossible and we take it as a personal challenge. You figured out gravity manipulation, Zilf repeated slowly. Because someone said you couldn't? I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds petty. But yeah, basically. Jake gestured behind him where what Zilf had assumed was a mountain range was actually a massive facility stretching to the horizon. Turns out, once you crack gravitational field manipulation, moving stars is just a matter of scale and patience. And humans have a lot of patience when it comes to doing something that'll make us look cool later. Pip finally found his voice. But the energy requirements alone would require the output of 1,000 suns. Try 50,000 suns, but who's counting? Jake's grin somehow got wider. Come on, let me show you around. General Martinez is gonna love this. She bet me you guys would shoot first and ask questions never. I said you'd at least land before panicking. I win $50. Your species was declared extinct, Zilf said, following him mostly on autopilot. And you're collecting on bets? Hey, we had to do something to pass the time while waiting for you guys to notice we were gone. 200 years is a long time, Captain. We've gotten really good at moving stars. As they walked toward the facility, Zilf noticed something that made her mandibles click in confusion. The sky above them wasn't black with stars. It was displaying what looked like a progress bar. Oh, that? Jake followed her gaze. Yeah, we're currently rearranging the Horsehead Nebula to look like a horsehead doing a thumbs up. Should be done by Thursday. Professor Wong's idea. He's our chief stellar cartographer, which is a job title that didn't exist before but absolutely should have. Somewhere in the back of Zilf's mind, the part of her that was still a rational being tried to process what was happening. Humans weren't extinct. They'd spent 200 years learning to move stars. They'd gone silent deliberately just to mess with the council. Ambassador Krell is going to lose his mind, she muttered. Oh, we're counting on it, Jake said cheerfully. That's kind of the whole point. Also, you guys technically violated about 47 different cosmic laws by trying to salvage our stuff without a proper extinction verification. We've been keeping notes. Very detailed notes. This was definitely not a milk run. The inside of the facility looked like someone had given a budget of infinite to a species that thought physics was more of a suggestion than a law. Holographic displays showed star systems, gravitational field equations that made Zilf's translator give up and just display question marks, and what appeared to be a cosmic dartboard with the Council's logo on it. Welcome to Stellar Ops Central, Jake announced, spreading his arms wide. Or as we like to call it, the place where we make the universe do what we want because we ask nicely, and also applied massive amounts of precisely calibrated gravitational force. A woman in a military uniform that somehow looked both official and like she'd slept in it, looked up from a console. Her expression suggested she had no time for nonsense, had never had time for nonsense, and was personally offended by the concept of nonsense. Bartowski, are these the salvagers? Sure are, General Martinez. Captain Zilf and crew. Meet General Rita Martinez, head of actually everything important around here while Jake makes jokes. Martinez walked over, studying them with the same intensity someone might use to evaluate a suspicious burrito. 200 years. That's how long it took the Council to declare us extinct. I had money on 150. Commander Vex won the pool. You've been running a betting pool on your own extinction? Zilf asked weakly. Captain, when you're rearranging stars for 2 centuries, you need hobbies. Martinez pulled up a holographic display. Let me give you the short version since I can see your brains trying to exit through your ears. 200 years ago, humanity cracked gravitational field manipulation. Not the weak stuff, the real deal. We can create, focus, and control gravitational fields strong enough to move stellar objects. That's impossible, Gormax whispered. Yeah, we got that a lot. Anyway, once we figured out the basics, someone suggested we use it to rearrange the stars. And then someone else said, hey, what if we went silent and let the Council think we were dead, then revealed ourselves in the most dramatic way possible? And honestly, it was such a good idea we couldn't resist. A man with wild hair and 3 different pairs of glasses perched on his head at various angles practically teleported over to them, vibrating with enthusiasm. Oh, perfect timing. I'm Professor Felix Wong, and I am so excited to explain stellar mechanics to you. Do you have 3 hours? No. How about 4 hours? I can talk for 4 hours easily. Felix, Martinez said tiredly. The short version. Right, short version. Felix pulled up a display showing their solar system. So basically, we can grab a star's gravitational signature and move it without actually moving the star's physical location much. We're working in space-time topology, folding and manipulating the underlying structure so objects appear to move from certain reference frames while remaining relatively stable in others. It's like moving the map instead of the thing on the map, except the map is reality and we're really good at forgery. Zilf felt her career flashing before her eyes. You've been rewriting reality. Only the gravitational parts. Everything else is fine. Mostly fine. 98% fine, which is basically 100%. Felix's grin was manic. Want to know the best part? That denied message you saw? That's permanent. We restructured space-time in this entire region. It'll be visible for millions of years. Why? Pip asked, his bouncing reduced to a nervous quiver. Why go silent? Why let everyone think you were dead? Jake and Martinez exchanged glances. Martinez nodded. Because the council was getting comfortable, Jake said, his casual tone hardening just slightly. Getting lazy, breaking their own rules because nobody was around to call them out. That secret weapons facility near the Horsehead Nebula, the one that violates the Sentient Species Protection Act. We know about it. We've known for 150 years. Another display lit up, showing a star cluster that, from a certain angle, spelled out, "We know what you did." That's positioned exactly 43 light-years from Council Station 7, Martinez added, the station where they've been conducting unauthorized surveillance on developing civilizations. Also illegal, by the way. We have a list. It's a long list. Zilf wanted to sit down. Since her species didn't really sit, she settled for redistributing her weight in a way that suggested internal screaming. You've been watching the Council break laws for 200 years and taking notes? Evidence gathering, Felix corrected cheerfully. Very important distinction. We've got documentation on 47 separate violations of the Galactic Charter. Would have been 48, but that thing with the trade routes got resolved on its own. You're blackmailing the Galactic Council, Gormak said faintly. Blackmail is such an ugly word, Jake replied. We prefer comprehensive accountability encouragement. Also, technically, you guys violated our territory first by trying to salvage our stuff. We just want to renegotiate humanity's place in the galactic community. With, the understanding that we can move stars now and you really don't want to make us demonstrate what else we can do with that ability. Martinez smiled, and it was not a comforting expression. Tell Ambassador Krell we'd like to schedule a meeting, at his earliest convenience, which, given the circumstances, should be immediately. Zilf looked at her crew, looked at the humans, looked at the holographic displays showing a species that had spent 200 years becoming cosmically powerful out of sheer spite, and made a command decision. I'm going to need you to explain all of this to Krell directly, because there's absolutely no way he's going to believe me. Oh, Captain, Jake said, grinning again. We were hoping you'd say that. Ambassador Krell was not having a good day. This realization came to him while watching a live feed of Earth, where a species he'd declared legally dead 2 hours ago was casually explaining how they'd learned to move stars like chess pieces. This is impossible, he said, his voice reaching frequencies that made his translator spark. And yet, Forn's voice bubbled through the comm system, absolutely dripping with amusement. Somehow completely happening. Tell me, Krell. How does it feel to be wrong in the most cosmically embarrassing way possible? Shut up, Vorn. The council chamber was in chaos. 17 different species were shouting in 23 different languages, while council member Thorpe had given up entirely and was just emitting a continuous wheezing sound that might have been laughter or crying. On the main display, Commander Jake Bartowski waved cheerfully. Hey, Council. Miss us? Because we definitely didn't miss you. No offense. How is this possible? Demanded Council Member Vrex, a crustacean-like being whose claws were clicking so rapidly they sounded like angry rain. We monitored your system for 200 years. Yeah, about that. A woman in a military uniform stepped into frame. General Rita Martinez, and I'm about to ruin your whole day. We went silent deliberately. Complete electromagnetic blackout, zero emissions, made ourselves look extinct on purpose. Why? Because we wanted to see what you'd do. And boy, did you not disappoint. Another display lit up, showing detailed logs, surveillance footage, and enough documentation to make a lawyer weep with joy. Unauthorized weapons development, illegal surveillance of pre-contact civilizations, violations of the Sentient Species Protection Act, unauthorized territory claims. Should I go on? Because I can go on. I've got 200 years of evidence. Krell felt something he hadn't experienced since the bake-off incident. Pure, unadulterated panic. Those are merely, we were simply breaking your own laws? Martinez's smile could have cut glass. Yeah, we noticed. Here's the thing, Council. We've been quiet. But we've been watching, and now we're done watching. Is that a threat? Vrex clicked aggressively. It's a renegotiation, Jake said brightly. See, humanity would like to rejoin the galactic community, but we've got some conditions. Professor Wong appeared, somehow managing to look both extremely professional and like he'd forgotten to sleep for a week. First, the Council agrees to actually follow its own laws going forward. We'll be monitoring. We're very good at monitoring now. Second, Martinez continued, humanity gets a seat on the Council with full voting rights and veto power over any decisions involving stellar mechanics, since, we're the only ones who can actually do stellar mechanics. Third, Wong bounced excitedly, we'll share the technology, eventually, after a very thorough review process and extensive training, and possibly a psychological evaluation because this tech is dangerous and you need to be responsible with it. And fourth, Jake finished, Ambassador Krell gets reassigned. Somewhere far away from anything important. We're thinking that monitoring station near the frozen methane planet. What's it called again? Station Nowhere, Vorn supplied helpfully, his bubbles sounding distinctly gleeful. It's very boring. Very, very boring. Krell made a sound like a kettle trying to scream. You can't do this. You can't just threaten the entire Galactic Council. We're not threatening, Martinez said calmly. We're negotiating. But just so we're clear on bargaining positions, Felix, show them Project Smiley Face. The displays changed. Every screen in the Council chamber showed the same image, a simulation of what appeared to be their entire galaxy, slowly rearranging into a massive smiley face. That's what we can do if we get really, really bored, Wong explained. It would take about 50 years and make navigation an absolute nightmare. But it's technically possible. We'd really prefer not to, though. Seems like a lot of work and kind of petty. Kind of? Jake muttered. Okay, very petty. But the point stands. We can do this. We'd rather work with you. But we're not going to sit quietly while the Council does whatever it wants anymore. Silence fell over the chamber. Even Thorpe stopped wheezing. Finally, Vorn's translator emitted what was definitely laughter. I like them. I vote yes on all terms. Krell's reassignment especially. That part brings me joy. This is outrageous, Krell sputtered. We're the Galactic Council. We don't negotiate with species who fake their own extinction. You do now, Martinez said flatly. Because the alternative is explaining to your constituents why you let a species capable of rearranging galaxies walk away annoyed. Your choice, Ambassador. Vrex's claws clicked once sharply. I vote to accept their terms. Seconded, wheezed Thorpe. One by one, Council members voted. Some enthusiastically, some reluctantly, but the message was clear. When someone could redecorate the universe, you listened to their suggestions. Krell watched his career, his pride, and his dream of an orderly universe crumble in real time. I vote abstain, he finally hissed. Abstention noted, Vorn bubbled happily. Motion carries. Welcome back to the galactic community, humanity. We're all very sorry we declared you dead and we promise to behave better going forward. Probably. Krell, start packing for Station Nowhere. As the Council dissolved into arguments about implementation details and logistics, Jake gave them all another cheerful wave. Great. We'll send over the full terms and conditions. See you all at the Humanities Not Dead party next month. It's going to be awesome. We've got fireworks that use actual stars. The feed cut out. Krell sat in his chair, experiencing what his species called comprehensive defeat. Could be worse, Vorn commented. They could have actually rearranged the galaxy. Silver lining, really. Krell didn't respond. He was too busy wondering if Station Nowhere had good insurance. 3 weeks later, Jake Bartowski stood in the council chamber, wearing a suit that actually fit and an expression that suggested he was taking this approximately 20% seriously, which was more than usual. So, he said, addressing the assembled council, humanity's back. Thanks for not shooting at us or trying to salvage our stuff again. Really appreciate the restraint. Ambassador Vorn, now officially the council's human liaison, a position that came with hazard pay and unlimited vacation days, bubbled contentedly in his tank. We're delighted to have you back, Commander Bartowski. Though I must ask, was the 200-year silence strictly necessary? Probably not, Jake admitted. But it was funny, and effective. Mostly funny, though. General Martinez, standing beside him in full-dress uniform, cleared her throat. The council has agreed to all terms. Humanity gets full council membership, oversight rights on stellar mechanics, and a promise that everyone follows their own rules going forward. In exchange, Professor Wong added, practically vibrating with excitement, we'll begin technology transfer programs. Very slowly, very carefully, with lots of safety protocols and probably some therapy because this tech is absolutely bonkers and you need to respect it. We've also agreed to remove the denied message, Jake continued. Eventually. We're thinking maybe a century or two. Let it serve as a reminder about assuming things about humanity. Fair enough, Vrex clicked, who had surprisingly become one of humanity's biggest supporters once he'd gotten over the initial shock. Though I must admit, part of me will miss it. Very dramatic. Martinez pulled up a holographic display showing humanity's proposed additions to galactic law. We're also suggesting a new protocol, the Extinction Verification Act. Basically, maybe actually check if a species is dead before dividing up their stuff. Seems reasonable. Unanimously supported, Vorn bubbled. Krell would have opposed it, but he's currently en route to Station Nowhere. He sends his regards. By which I mean he sends nothing because he's sulking. Beautiful, Jake grinned. Now, the important part. We're throwing a party. Humanity's official, we're not dead and also we can move stars now celebration. Next month. Earth. Everyone's invited. We're going to use precisely calibrated gravitational fields to create fireworks with actual stars. It'll be safe. Mostly safe. 98% safe. That's not as reassuring as you think it is, Thorpe wheezed. But he sounded amused. Here's the thing, Martinez said, her expression serious. Humanity learned something important over these 200 years. Power is easy. Responsibility is hard. We can move stars, but that doesn't mean we should move them without thinking about consequences. We want to share this technology because it's incredible, but we also want to make sure it's used wisely. Which is why the training program is 50 years long, Wong added, and includes a comprehensive ethics course, and a practical exam, and possibly a musical number about respecting cosmic forces. The musical number is not confirmed, Martinez said quickly. It's absolutely happening, Wong whispered loudly. Jake looked around the council chamber, at the assembled species who'd declared humanity extinct and were now nervously welcoming them back. Look, we could have come back angry. We could have used the fact that we can rearrange galaxies as leverage to take over or make demands. But that's not who we are. We just wanted you to take us seriously, and maybe follow your own rules, and possibly admit that underestimating humans is always a bad idea. Duly noted, Vorn said. For the record, I never underestimated you. I just found the whole thing hilarious. Which is why you're our liaison, Jake said. That and you're the only council member who didn't panic when we moved the stars. I've learned to expect the unexpected from humanity, Vorn bubbled philosophically. It saves time and prevents stress-induced ink release. As the council session was wrapping up, every window in the chamber suddenly displayed the same view. Outside, visible across half the galaxy, the stars were moving again. Slowly, gracefully, they rearranged themselves into a new message. You're welcome. The council chamber fell silent. Then Vrek started clicking in what was definitely laughter. Thorpe's wheeze became almost musical. Even the more serious council members couldn't quite hide their amusement. Did you plan that? Vorn asked. The timing was Felix's idea, Jake admitted. He's very good at dramatic reveals. Martinez shook her head, but she was smiling. Gentlemen, we should probably head back to Earth. The party's not going to plan itself, and Wong wants to test the stellar fireworks sequence. They're going to be amazing, Wong said dreamily. I'm thinking a supernova-scale sparkler effect, some binary star rotations for the finale, maybe a pulsar strobe light situation. Let's maybe start smaller, Martinez interrupted. Remember what happened last time you got ambitious with the stellar choreography? That was one accidental black hole and we fixed it immediately. Accidental black hole? As the human delegation left the council chamber, still arguing about party safety protocols, Vorn watched them go with something that might have been fondness. They're going to be an absolute nightmare to work with, Vrex observed. Oh, absolutely, Vorn agreed. But they're going to make things interesting. And honestly, after 3,000 years of council bureaucracy, interesting is exactly what we need. Outside the windows, the stars finished arranging themselves into their message. You're welcome hung in the cosmos, a reminder written in suns that humanity had returned, was probably going to cause problems, and was definitely not extinct. Not even close.